All right, so I'm going to do a day one recap of Offer Mastery Live 2024. I'm at my Airbnb in Tampa right now, kind of hungry. I want to go get some wings in a minute, but I wanted to go ahead and do this recap and not put this off. And so I'm going to go ahead and start this slideshow and just took some of my notes, and I just want to talk a little bit about the first day. I actually got into Tampa this morning at 9 a.m. and got an Uber from there, straight from the airport to the Marriott, but they are actually at the JW Marriott. So there's a difference apparently between the two. Finally found the right hotel, got inside around 9:45, and Myron Golden was already speaking. If you're not aware of what Offer Mastery Live is, it's an event that's put on annually by Myron Golden. Well, I say annually, but let me just say that this is the last one apparently. So if you haven't been to it before, I hadn't before this year, but if you want to come, day 2, day 3 are tomorrow and Thursday, the 22nd and 23rd of May. It's at the JW Marriott. If you're in Tampa or in close enough, I think I heard somebody saying they drove 3 hours to be here today. You might want to get in here because this is not going to happen again, apparently. So Offer Mastery Live is this live event for entrepreneurs hosted by Myron Golden. If you don't know who he is, I'll talk a little bit more about him in a second. Just want to say that the speakers were all good today. KB Newton, former DJ for the Indiana Pacers. Macy McNeely, she's the co-CEO of the Sales Girls. She had some really interesting stuff to say about sales. Daniel Priestley, if you're unaware of him, he's a best-selling author of the books Key Person of Influence and Oversubscribed. He's a serial entrepreneur, well-known. And then there's Myron Golden. He's an entrepreneur. If you don't know who he is, there's a lot of YouTube videos that he's put out about business, and he uses biblical principles and applies them to business, and a very successful entrepreneur. So what I want to do for the recap is basically talk about the day from when I was there at 9:45 until it ended around 5, and then I need to go get some wings. I didn't see Myron's very first keynote, but the big takeaway of the entire event is basically this: that all money problems and really many other problems are actually just offer problems. If you learn how to make offers, then you can deal with any money problem that you might have. And when you think about it, that's basically how we get money in the first place. An interview is basically where you're offering your services in exchange for the work that you would do for a company, for instance. And so everything is an offer, really. And so if you figure out how to offer things well, for me, wanting to do online education, learning how to do offers will be the backbone of any business that I'm doing online. So the next speaker after Myron this morning was KB Newton, and she had some interesting things to say about this thing she calls soft offers. So if you think about hard offers as being something where you're trying to sell someone something, so let's say I have something I want to sell you, and I want you to give me money, and I want to give you this thing I have. That's a hard offer. She talked about something called soft offers, where as being an opportunity for people to demonstrate what she calls buy-in power rather than buying power. So buying power is I have my money and I give you my money. But buy-in power is where I actually believe in what you have to offer. And so she says this is different than a hard sale where the focus is really on, let me give you the money and you give me the thing. She's saying that there were people that she has interacted with since she started making soft offers where they care about what she has to say, that they've been looking for what she has to offer. So they actually buy into her first, and then the money follows after that. After KB Newton, Macy McNeely, she's the one on the left in this picture. She is a co-CEO of the Sales Girls, and she talked about her background as really was growing up with a father who was very big on trying to teach her sales, and she didn't really want to hear about it. But then when she became an entrepreneur, she did want to learn more about sales. And she made an interesting point. She said that many entrepreneurs make the mistake of selling a customer on their process, which is whatever the thing is that you do. So if I'm selling you on a system, for example, for graduate students to make it easier for you to finish your thesis on time, then I might tell you about the various aspects of the system that I've created. But she says that's not what you should focus on if you're wanting to sell, or you want to do that in a way that is not sleazy. Instead, you should focus on the payoff. What is the thing that the customer is going to get from the experience? People actually don't care about your process. They don't care about how you're going to uniquely guide them. They just want to know that you can help them through whatever it is that they're going through. So help them understand the payoff and focus on that in your sales process rather than thinking about whatever your unique thing is. Myron Golden came back and he had I think it was a couple of different times he spoke. But there was an interesting thing he had to say about cold traffic that I thought was really interesting. When we talk about cold traffic, what we mean is people who don't know you or trust you. He said warm traffic are people that do have some trust and they already know who you are. Maybe they've even bought from you. And then hot traffic would be someone who basically they're your raving fans. Anything you put out, they find out about it, they're going to buy it sight unseen. And so cold traffic are basically complete strangers. And he said, if you're trying to bring in people from being cold traffic, what you don't want to do is try to appeal to them by saying, hey, this is this pleasurable thing that I can take you toward. So if you do that, it'll sound like a scam. And he gave an example of a person on the side of the road offering to hand out $100 bills. We would look at that person and say, hey, I don't really want your $100 bill. We probably think it was counterfeit. We think it was a scam. We think that something was going to happen. But he also said that, let's say that same person that you wouldn't take the $100 bill from, if you fell and hit your head and you were bleeding, you would accept that person handing you a handkerchief to stop the bleeding, or you would give them your phone and tell them your passcode so that they could call 911 if you were really needing an ambulance to come. He says you would trust them because you're in pain. And so as entrepreneurs, we want to help people that are strangers come out away from their pain rather than talking about the pleasure that they could potentially get. So that was a really interesting point that he made that made a lot of sense to me. So then we went to lunch, and lunch was actually really interesting. They gave us 90 minutes for lunch. And at first I thought that was a long time until I was at a table with several people that are, again, kind of similar to me, thinking about entrepreneurship, or some of them were farther along than I am. And we had a really interesting conversation. There was one guy there that he runs a team of people, maybe 40 people, and he's really contemplating becoming an entrepreneur. And there were some interesting conversations with him. I've talked to some people who've written books, and there was a man there in education, which is something I want to get involved in. And we're going to be connecting probably tomorrow or Thursday. So lunch was really good to be able to talk to other entrepreneurs and people that are thinking similarly, and the things that we took away, and talking to other people and seeing their stories. Several of those people were farther along than I am. And to see these people saying, you can do this, you can really support yourself doing this kind of thing, was really encouraging. So we got back after lunch, and Myron Golden spoke again. And there was an interesting thing he had to say about this idea of someone saying, I can't afford it. So let's say I make an offer of something related to education, and someone might say to me, well, Jerry, I can't afford that. One of the things he said is that there's really no such thing as I can't afford it. What he said is that entire idea is a false construct, because you can afford it. Often, when things are important enough, you will. And that's the point he was basically making. He said, what you really mean when you say I can't afford it is that this is not important enough for me to figure it out, right? If it's life or death, yeah, you'd figure it out. You'd figure out how to come up with the money or come up with the resources to make things happen. So it's generally not that you can't afford it. It's going to be that you don't think it's important enough. And so as entrepreneurs, we have to try to figure out how to help people see the importance of the thing that we are offering. And so when they see that, then you won't be able to stop people from wanting to take you up on your offer. The last speaker of the day was Daniel Priestley. Again, he's a best-selling author of Oversubscribed and Key Person of Influence. And I personally have read Key Person of Influence, and it was a really useful book for me. And so to hear him go more in depth about the 5 things that a person needs to do to become a key person of influence was really interesting. One of the things he said was that to build a successful personal brand, which is what entrepreneurs should be doing, you should focus on becoming a key person of influence. You shouldn't be trying to hide behind the product or behind the business itself, but instead you should be focusing on becoming a key person of influence. And that is more important than the product that you might be selling, or the service, or the business itself. And he pointed out that many of the CEOs that we know very well, like someone like Tim Cook of Apple, Tim Cook has more followers than Apple has followers in terms of social media, because people follow the person rather than the brand or the business itself. And so we can see this with soccer players, for instance. The biggest soccer player in the world, the most popular soccer player in the world, has 600 million followers, but you can add up all of the European soccer leagues or soccer teams, I think. He called it football because he's from Britain, but you can add up all of those different soccer teams. Their followers are less than this guy that has all of the followers. And so there are 5 things that he refers to in his book about becoming a key person of influence. One is that you need to have an effective pitch. You need to publish your ideas openly, like in social media. He really pushed LinkedIn. That's something I probably will need to do more of. A key person of influence. The 3rd things that they offer products. They have the 4 things that they have a positive online profile. So if you Google them, when you look at the first page of Google, it has all positive things there about the person. And then key people of influence partner with other key people of influence. And so that's where the lunch, for example, earlier was really important, because already I was able to connect with some people that I might be able to be helpful to, and they might be able to be helpful to me, and we can all level up together. So he was really the last speaker. There were some other things that happened day one, but as far as big takeaways, as far as a recap, those were the biggest things that I saw from day one. I will be posting again tomorrow for day 2, and also on Thursday for day 3. So come back to the channel and check those things out. Otherwise, I'll see you next time, and thank you for watching.